Hello, it's Yvonne from the Fabric Hut. Welcome to my studio. Today my favorite day, project day. I just love doing little projects with you. Today we're going to work on little mug rugs. I love having a mug rug by my sewing machine, by my TV tray or my coffee table, by my chair, that sort of thing. For two reasons. One, I like to drink iced tea. But iced tea tends to want to sweat, get everything wet. And I don't like my machine. My table is a wooden table, so I don't like all that sweat on my sewing table. And coffee, I don't like the heat on my sewing table. So I love having a mug rug by all my important places so that I can just put my coffee there. And if I happen to have a muffin or something, I can put that with it and keep my area kind of straight and clean. So with this one, I used the Fizzy Pop charm pack that I have. I pulled that little guy back out. So this is just a real basic one. I'm going to show you how to make the real basic one. However, this opens you up to all sorts of fun. So I did this one also with the Fizzy Pop, but see, I added a little touch of color over here. I've realigned my geese over here. There's just so many different ways. I also, in the video, show you how to do a square and a square this way. So it has the diamond in the middle, all sorts of fun things. So this is just a really fun one. I love making these at Christmas time because you can put all sorts of little holiday designs or holiday fabrics, and they're just a fabulous little gift. So let's head to the sewing table and start by making our flying geese, and then we will make some mug rugs. See you over there. We are going to begin our mug rug with flying geese. We're starting with a 4 1/4 inch square and for our geese units, and 2 3/8 inch, 4 2 3/8 inch squares for our sky units. We're going to draw the line diagonally. I really like using this technique when I have to make smaller geese because it just makes it a little bit easier to manipulate than using the really small pieces. Sometimes with those really small pieces, it's very difficult. Now, see, I've got my line a little bit off. It's not quite onto the point. So I'm just going to readdress that here real quickly. Get it right on that point. There we go. And I'm going to sew on either side. I need to change my foot here. I'm going to sew on either side of that drawn line, 1/4 inch away. And I want to keep it just a little bit inside of that 1/4 inch. So when I run my foot along the edge, I'm going to run it along the right hand edge versus the left hand edge, just so that I have a little bit wiggle. Oops, my needle's not where I want it to be. Let me go back here and get it set up. There we go. That way I just have a little bit more space when I am pressing my seam open. Okay, there we go with one side. And you know what? I just did that whole thing without any bobbin thread. Always check your bobbin when you start. I say that, but I never do it. I've been sewing all day, and so, of course, it ran out as soon as I turned on the camera. But thankfully, it's that hard to fix right there. And we will do this one more time. It's nice to catch it on the first one and not to sew for 20 minutes without it. Okay. I'll do that side. I'm going to give it a little extra thread there and then go up this side. Now, because this is anchored down, I will be able to get over this edge without having it catch. That's why I put them in that order with the bottom one underneath. Okay, there we go. And we are going to cut this in half. Now, if you haven't made flying geese this way, go back and check out the Technique Tuesday. That's going to give you real clear instructions. We're just going to be making them quickly here for this project. But Technique Tuesday is all about making flying geese 4 at a time. So remember that when you're pressing, you want to press with the straight of grain, which is this direction, not this direction. So I'm going to press it up, let my iron do the work, get that straight of grain, and then this one is also a straight of grain this way. So I will just catch my point here, turn it a little bit, and let it do straight of grain. Isn't that just the funniest looking little piece of quilt block now? Look at that. It's so cute. I love how that's right centered. Of course, it's going to get cut in half with my next part, but that's okay. It looks cute right now. Okay, and one more. We got it. We're all pressed out. I think maybe I need to reposition my camera just a little bit for you. There we go. Okay, now that I have those pressed, I will add the other 2 pieces right here. Making sure the line is going through that point. There we go. And again, so just a little bit to the left of that line, or to the right, I'm sorry. Okay, and I'm wanting to start my sewing right here at this little juncture. So that's going to give me the perfect point on the top. And we will turn it around and go this way. I'm actually going to trim these apart just for the ease of fitting them in. There we go. Did you see how this one is right at that point? I want that one to come right out at that point also. And it did. And then this one. Aiming for that little point one more time. There we go. Again, we're going to trim these guys apart and press them. And this will give us our 4 geese. There. 2 and 4. And we'll just trim off our little, well, there we go. And trim them off. If you have a hard time figuring out where that one is to trim, finger press this open, just like that. And then we will press it in a moment. But while I have the cutting board up here, I like to just get them all trimmed off. Dog ears are great when they're on a puppy, but they're not so easy to work with when they're on a quilt block. Finger press open. Now you will notice that because we made sure we were right on that intersection, look how nice and even that is across the top. Let's see if I can find one that isn't quite as even. No, these all came out pretty well. But if they weren't quite even, well, this one, nope, that's still it. If they weren't quite even, one side would be higher than the other. And so then you would have to trim it down and you wouldn't be quite as accurate. So we want to keep coming in right at that little point so that they're nice and even. And then we're going to press these guys towards the sky unit. We're always pressing towards the sky unit on flying geese. Because if you try and press the other way, you end up with quite the little lump right there. We don't want a lump right there. Okay. And I'm pressing towards the straight grain, catching here, going straight up, because this is a bias seam. Okay. Now this is where you can be a little bit creative. You can put all of your geese going up. You can put 2 going up and 2 coming down. You can put 2 of them going this way and 2 of them going that way. You can do whatever you would like to do with your, oh, there we go. Sorry, I had it way over. So whatever you want to do. I don't know, on this one, I think I'll do it that way on this one. My sample has them all going up, so we'll just change it up a little bit. So when you're sewing these together, you want to make sure that you're sewing with the goose side up so you can see this little point right there, because that's where you want your needle to go, is right through that little point. And I'm going to change to my 1/4 inch with the guide now, because I'm going to use the edge of the fabric now, not a line. Go right there, I'll start it, get it lined up where I need it to be, and right through that, or 1 stitch to the right of that little point, even if you have to swerve out just a smidge. Okay, so that's that one. So this one I'm going to have to flip it around this way so I can get that goose on the top. Get it anchored and adjust everything. And here's my point right there. So just a little bit. Oh, I just had a problem with my thread. Let's see what happened. Well, I got a little bit of a frayed thread there. So it didn't go through my needle accurately. So we'll just take it out. We'll rethread our needle and go back and do that little seam again. It didn't hurt anything. So I just need to redo it. You all know how much I like to thread needles when you're all watching me. At some point I'll get my needle threader fixed, but you know, not yet. Next time I take it in for service, I will. Okay, here we go one more time. It's going to make sure I'm right on that same sewing line. And right on through that point. There we go. You know, I try not to get too worked up when little things happen like that. It just take a breath, fix it, go on to the next thing. All right, so we have our geese. Now I have, look at how that little goose is right there where it's supposed to be. Oh, and so is that one. I did good. So now we're going to match them this way. Now this one's going to be a little bit trickier. I haven't pressed yet, but this one's going to be a little trickier because I have to meet 2 points. So how am I going to do that? Well, you can do it a couple of ways. Stick a pin through your point. Get it right into the point. I'm going from the back, but I turn it to the front so I can see that I'm right there. And then I'm going to go through this one right there. So I've got them both lined up. Now, if you're a proponent of pinning, instead of doing this in pinning, which is going to warp that point, you would then take and put a pin on either side, just a little bit outside of it, one right here, and keeping that nice and snugged in together, and then one on this side. I'm not taking out that center point until I get the other 2 pins positioned, because that way nothing can shift. Okay, so I have those. Now, the other way I could have done that, I'm going to take this one out now. The other way I could have done that is fold it over and put a dollop of glue right there. Whichever way works best for you. Just make sure that you have them lined up accurately. So this is going to be a little tricky because I do have the guide foot with the flange, and I don't normally go over pins with it, but I want to keep it really level, so I'm going to let it go over or under that flange until I get to the pin. Then I'll pull it out. You don't want to ever sew over your pin, but you can let your foot go over them. So I'm going to go until right there at the point, and I'll pull out this other pin. And there we go. Now that's probably the hardest join you have to make. Let's see how I did. Ooh, truth time. Well, I got off just a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay. That's not enough that I'm going to worry about it. If I wanted to, I could take out from here to here, adjust it. Now, this is a really thick bulk right there. And I am not really a proponent of open seams, but in this case, we're going to press this seam open because otherwise we're going to have a real thick spot in our mug rug that maybe it's going to tip our coffee cup, and we don't want to do that. So this center seam, when the points come together, I'm going to press it open, but the other ones I'm going to press away from the point. Right there. So we're going to press towards the center on those two and open on that center one. Looking good, looking good. Okay, so there you go. There's our center or our edge piece. That should measure about 6.5 inches, and it does. Yay. Okay, we're going to set that one aside. Now for this one, I'm going to get a little bit creative. You know, in my sample, I made one with just a solid right here. And that's lovely. Yeah, I mean, you put your bagel there or your coffee there, whatever. It's okay, but I thought it was a little plain. So then I did one, look at that, using a square and a square, and look how that would change it up. That's pretty cool. But I thought we'd do one more variation on this one today, and I'm going to take a square that is the same size. It's still that 4 inch square, and I'm going to sew 1.5 by 4.25 to this side, like that. I'm going to sew 4.25 by 1.5 on this side. Now this might be a little longer than the 6.5, but I can trim it up. I always like to overestimate when it's a straight seam like this. And then I'm going to press, let's see, which way shall I press? I'm going to press towards my center square. I think that's what I'm going to do right there. Just because this green might have a little bit of yeah, see, it would have just a little bit of show through, and I don't think it's going to matter in the long run. So I'm going to press it this way, like that. Okay, set that aside. And now I have, this is now about 6.25, not quite as big as I thought I needed. So maybe I would cut them a little bit longer, but I'm going to make this work. We're going to just offset it about 1/8 of an inch on each side. Bring it up to 6.5. So as long as your seams are within 1/8 of an inch, you don't have to worry too much. This is going to just be a little bit shy. So I probably needed to cut these just a little bit bigger than 1.5. Cut them maybe 1 3/4. That gives me an extra 1/8 of an inch on each side. Or cut my center square instead of 4.25, cut it at 4.5. You know, but this is a mug rug, and it's not going to be used as a quilt and pulled around and tugged around all the time. So this is going to work just fine. It's just going to give us a little thinner of a seam on the sides. Okay, and now we're going to press those. I'm going to press these out now because I already have those pressed in, so we'll just do this. I think it's okay. There we go. Okay, look how far we've come. We are getting close. Now we're going to take our other piece, and again, this is going to be a little bit tighter, so we're going to just ease it in just a smidge. We're going to go from there. And again, we want to stitch with our points on top so we can see what they are. Yeah, just like that. And I'm matching up with the outside of my longer strips and keeping the 1/4 inch seam here in the middle, or the 1/8 inch down the middle, because we need to make up a little bit of space. Make sure our seams are all going the right way. There we go. And all the way down. And now we can press that one over towards the muffin part, or the coffee cup part, just like that. See that? We are almost done. The next thing we have to do is just get out our backing and batting, which I have right here. I have 1 layer of batting and a 6.5 by 9.5 backing, and I'm going to just put this on top, just like that, and I'm going to use my 1/4 inch all the way around. I'm going to leave my opening here on this long side, or here on this end where I'm not fighting seams, so that it's easy to close up when we're done. So I'm going to just start right here. I'm going to come in straight and then turn my corner and go on all the way down to within 1/4 inch of the corner. Just like that. I just think mug rugs are one of the cutest little gifts you can give. You know, it takes 20-25 minutes to make, and then you're done. And it's just a very cute little gift. And you can use scraps. This one I've used the Fizzy Pop 5-inch block pack that I had, and just some scraps that I had in my studio. There we go. Now again, see, this part is going to have a little bit thinner of a seam, but it's still going to work just fine. Just like that. Right up to within 1/4 inch. Stop, turn, get it pulled out here where I want it, and continue. Adjust my bottom here. There we go. Everybody's where they're supposed to be. And finish it up. One more stitch. And we're almost back to the beginning. I'm going to sew in, leave about 2.5-3 inches. Doesn't need to be too much because this is a pretty small project. And there we go. Now I'm going to take the time to trim the points on my corners right here, because that gets way too much bulk. Right there, already trimmed. And now I'm going to just turn it right side out. Oops, sorry, hit the camera. Right side out and press it and top stitch right around the edge. Let's get this out. I like to turn my points this way so that they're already pretty much turned by the time I get them right side out, get my finger on the top there. I still will sometimes have to add a little bit more push to get it right. And just birth that little baby right out of there. Isn't that fun? This is the part that always just, I get so excited. Okay, there we go. Those corners are good. That one needs a little help. That one might need a little encouragement to get pointy. There we go. All right, look at that. Let me bring my pressing mat up. And reposition the camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. There you go. And we're just going to give that a press. Now, when you're deciding which side to press from, I like to press from the side that does not have the batting attached. So that's going to be from the top. In this particular case, if I had the back on top of the top, I would press from the back. A little bit of moisture on your fingers will help that spin right out. We're looking at the points there. Make sure they're right on the edge. That point just came right to the edge. That one's a little off, but it's not too bad. And then this is just straight here, so just work that out. And work that one out. And close up our opening here by just flipping it inside. Because I did that little stitch out, it's going to hold it just where I want it to be once I get all those threads pushed in. Well, there we go. There we go. I think that's pretty close. I can adjust it as I go now. That one just pulled out just where I want it. Oop, pop. And there we go. And all I need to do is top stitch around it, and our little mug rug is completed. Isn't that fun? I hope you enjoyed this project. If you have any questions, just drop them into the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So enjoy this, make some gifts, and happy quilting.